Here we go. Blueberries. Now, before I ever started this painting, I have Googled blueberries, researched blueberries, downloaded photographs of blueberries, gotten lots of references together. This did not come out of my imagination. That's important to remember. It came together through research and inspiration. Now, as I started, I've drawn it off with the erasable pilot pen. Hot air blower will erase those marks. Do I want background? Do I not want background? What is the underpainting? So on and so forth. So, you know most of this if you're watching this video. I'm going to first select a color scheme that's dismissed by a lot of artists. It is so important. I'm going to get my color wheel and I'm going to select a color scheme. In my sketchbook, as I paint different paintings and I select different color schemes, I'm going to flip through here. Here's an analogous. These are the 5 touching. This will be, in general, the overall feel of the painting. Here's another one, 5 touching, analogous, same. Well, I think that that's pretty, but I want some punch. So I flip over here. Here is a tetrad. This is in general what it would look like. I like that. I'm gonna mark that. No, 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 no. Hey, wait a minute. Hey, wait a minute. Here we go. Another tetrad. This one or this one. Go through. Oh no, that could be interesting. Whoever wants to use it, this one. There's many options. If you want yours more monochromatic, do that. Because the subject matter is blueberries, it does not mean it all has to be blue. Be creative, have some fun with it, and I'm going to select, as I look through here, I like that one. It doesn't get me real excited. I want to have a good time doing this. Where is this one? Right, see all of the right here. I would like for it to be a little more colorful. That's the one I'm going to pick. Now you see I've changed my mind a couple of times over here. This is the one that I'm going to pick. Now I wet this paper, and I mean it's wet. You can see the water running over it. And I'm going to let that soak in until it's ready. I want most of this water absorbed into the paper. And I have mixed my triad on my palette in puddles, red, orange. Now this does not mean I can't add a little red, add a little orange, as long as it stays red, orange. Same thing with yellow, green, or green, yellow. I can add a little bit more yellow. It is still a yellow, green. I can add a little bit more green. It is still yellow, green, etc. Now, light values to dark values. It doesn't have to be all nice light values. I can mix this to be a very dark value. And I also have my neutrals to work with. So the misunderstanding is you're limited to these 4. In general, yes, but not specifically. And you're going to see that as I work. I hope I may and may not get everything I want to under the camera, but you'll see as I go. for me, one of the first things I need to do, that's the brush I used to wet it. I'm through with that. The white paper for me can be very intimidating. See, it's still too wet. Now this is, y'all, this is important. Wet on wet does not mean sloppy. And again, depending on the technique you're using, I'm going to spread that around a little bit here. See how really wet it is? I want it to dry more into a damp than a wet. Now, it's not going to absorb into the mask, the tape, which I've taped off to a standard mat size. So I'm going to dry this. There we go. That's better. What I don't want to do is come in and start blotting and soaking up. I want this evenly distributed. Now, this takes time. Every step takes time. So I'm going to pause here for a minute while that finishes doing what it does. Okay, I think we're ready here. I need to get some of this white paper gone. Now see, this is still very damp. I'm bringing a lot of water in here. I'm adding the green. Now I'm not going to add it specifically to where I know a leaf is going to be. What I'm going to do, see, I added a little more yellow. Okay, now, if I just left it here, would I like the way the green is distributed? Okay. Now, because I'm going to stick with my color scheme here, I want some of this, gotta get that green out of my brush, red violet. That's going to be too much. That's too wet and too much. I'm not scrubbing it. I'm going to blot some up, but I want it to work. And because I know I'm going to have a background, I'm going to lay some of that. Generally leave the page 5 times, or at least 2 or 3 times per side. All right, looking good. Don't let that little blob. Now I'm not filling in all the white because I want sparkle and I want a light source. So now blue will be my dominant. You need to pick a dominant color. Not everybody can be, ooh, like that. Okay, that's a little crinkled. We'll go with that. And the only thing I haven't added here, and this is because I want this color to flow. I want the color to flow. And I'm going to have the red orange minimum. So I'm going to sort of put it in a pecking order. As you know, Papa Bear is going to be the blue-green, Mama Bear the green. Probably next would be the red-violet, and last but not least, the orange. Now I'm watching this because the paper's wet and I don't want it to get crazy and I don't want to lose all my whites. So I'm going to pause again because again, this step takes time and I'm going to watch the watercolor. If it does something I know I cannot work with later, I'm going to correct it. All right, now then, this is ready to paint. The paper's ready. I know that I want the light source to come this way. I know that because I made that up, personal decision. I can decide to have it any way I want it, but I'm going to have it this way, which means, whoops, hair. Now, I don't want a lot of hard edges. See, it's spreading still. I'm going to mix these colors next to each other. And I'm using the blue, green, the violet, because this is where my darkest value will be when I'm ready to put it in. This is just a medium value. And I'm going to do this all the way around. And yes, I'm going to do this carefully, put in a little orange. See how it's spreading out? For now, maybe not for later, but for now, that's what I'm looking for. I can tighten these edges, but I don't want a lot of hard edges because I like to use my edges, you'll see later, as transportation through the painting. Now, you don't need to watch me do each one of these, but this is the process I'm going to go through. And you see how I'm being careful. Now, a lot of this has to do with, and you can't really, if you want this to be dimensional, these are circles. And as we paint them, we need to turn them into spheres, giving them some form or some dimension. We're going to do that, not right now. I'm going to lay in some color over here. Too much water from my brush, but I'm going to leave the lightest lights. For me, that's a note to self. Remember your light source. All of this is going to dry lighter than it is, softer than it is. But as I get into the next step and I see these white areas, I'm going to think, or I hope I'm going to think to myself, pay attention, that's your light source. Now I'm going to pause as I work through this.